What's up, guys? It's Ryan. Last week I posted a video riding the 2022 KTM 450 SXF Factory Edition. I just posted like a raw riding video. I didn't do any details about it, but I got a lot of questions and comments asking to do, kind of my opinion and do some voiceover over the top of it. So here it goes. So KTM dropped a all-new 2022 Factory Edition. This is kind of like what the old Factory Edition bikes used to be, where it's a new generation bike. So this bike is the 2023 production bike, pretty much. And what's new about it, there's a new engine, a new frame, new swing arm shock, forks. Pretty much everything on this bike is brand new. So the new engine is actually shorter. It's also shorter width-wise and shorter height-wise. So it's more compact. They've rotated it 2 degrees to kind of get rid of some of that anti-squat when it's under throttle. Same with the countershaft sprocket. The countershaft sprocket is also shorter to the shorter distance, so it has that anti-squat property. It's got a new frame, and with the new frame there's a new shock design. So where the shock mounts, there's no backbone that goes up to the handlebars. It's not how it used to be. Now the design of this is so the forces of the shock transfer down the side of the frame rather than up to the top and into the handlebars. So kind of what my take is the bike, obviously it looks way different, but my take on it is that this is kind of how I think if KTM were to build a Japanese kind of style bike. So now Honda has kind of gone in the way of the Austrians, where it's got that round neutral seat. It's really skinny, it's really sharp. It's got that one-sided exhaust system with the really kind of exposed side plate. And the traditional Japanese bikes like the Kawasaki, the Suzuki, and like the Honda before this generation, all kind of were very distinctly Japanese. And then the KTM and the Husqvarna were obviously very European. So now with this version of the KTM, even the pegs, everything about this bike, the seat, it's kind of got that hard-edged seat rather than that really flat neutral seat. In my opinion, it's almost like if KTM had made a Japanese bike. So some people might not agree with this. This is just my opinion. But just the way that it feels when you ride it and sit on it, it kind of just seems that way. So what do I like about it? Dude, this bike is super fast. In years past, the KTM's motor has been pretty usable, and it revs really high. And then it also has 2 maps. So map 1 was kind of the more traditional. It would rev really high but really smooth delivery. And then map 2 was more aggressive. And it was kind of hard to tell the difference, but now this motor is really fast, even in the standard mode. I think guys who buy this bike are more of the vet rider, and I think KTM almost kind of missed the mark on this. I think the map 2 on this bike is super fast, and map 1 is even really fast. So it's almost geared for like a pro racer. And if you're a vet guy trying to buy this bike, it's going to be really fast. So I don't know if you can detune this or do it kind of an ignition setting that might make it a little bit smoother and easier to ride. But yeah, it's definitely very fast. Another big change is the fork. It's not really a huge change. It's the same fork. It's just new settings. But these are the best settings that I've ridden in an air fork, and it is the most spring-like air fork that I've ridden to date. What I really noticed about this is the small bump compliance. So when you go into a turn or you're kind of riding the edge of the tire and it's kind of eating up those little bumps, that's where the air fork for me has been bad in the past. But this one is really supple, and it just kind of eats those bumps up, and it's super comfortable. It's lightweight like it has been in the past, but yeah, just an extra year or two for the WP guys to get this fork figured out and get a really good setting in there, I think has done wonders. The shock is really cool. The same, clickers that the fork has, where they're just those plastic adjusters. Now the rear shock has that, so you don't really need tools to make clicker adjustments to the shock. You can just do it by hand. So I think I did a quarter turn in on high-speed compression on the shock, just to kind of mitigate that hard hit when you come off a landing and you're in the sitting position. And we just did that, literally in just a turn of the hand. So it was really nice that we were able to do that. I think that's a cool feature. Another thing about this bike, the new mapping switch is really nice. It seems super slim. I said like it's something out of the Apple store, just super slim and compact. And then going along with that, the bike has a Quickshifter, which is really, I don't know, it's going to take a lot of people some getting used to, but this is something that comes from road racing. You can literally hold the throttle on, and there's a sensor in the shift drum, and so you can click the gear up and the ignition will cut for, you know, a microsecond, and then it'll allow the gear to shift, and then it'll put the ignition back on. So yeah, it's really cool. You can just shift gears while you hold the throttle on, and then you never have to let off or use the clutch or anything. So this is controlled by a switch on the handlebar, and then you can turn it off at any time. You can even ride it with it on and still shift it traditionally where you let off the throttle. But at first, so I've ridden this bike 3 times now. I've ridden it twice at Fox Raceway and once at Glen Helen. And at first, on my first day, I did not like it. It took me a lot of getting used to. But after the second day I rode it, and especially the time I rode it at Glen Helen, I really liked it, especially down the start straight where you can just hold it on. And if you were going to, you know, go for a whole shot, I would definitely recommend using this because you just don't have to let off. Going up the hills, you grab a gear and it wants to pull, which, like I said, it can take some getting used to, but just cool technology that these guys are bringing to the table. That it's also got the traction control, which is kind of hit or miss. Some guys like it. I usually like it, especially when the track's getting dry. I just put it on just because I don't think it hurts anything. So yeah, there's a ton of new changes about this bike. I'm excited to ride it more. This week we're supposed to go ride the Husqvarna Rockstar Edition, which is pretty much the same bike, so I'll be doing another video on that. But yeah, I'm really happy with the KTM, and hopefully we get to ride it some more. In the meantime, hope you guys enjoy these kinds of videos. I don't know if you guys even like the voiceover, but try to do them and give you guys some insight and just kind of my opinion on what it's like to ride these things. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.